Namaste. My name is JVN Manisha Singh, Assistant Professor in Department of Food and Biotechnology under Faculty of Agriculture and Veterinary Sciences in Jyoti Vidyapeeth Women's University, Jaipur. I am teaching you subject Food Safety and Quality Control for class BET FBT 6th semester. In our previous session, we will discuss all about the factors affecting the food safety part 1. And in today's session, we will discuss all about the factors affecting food safety part 2. Okay, so let's begin with the topic. In the previous session, we will discuss all about the factors which affect the food safety and how you will control them. Okay, so in this session, we will also cover your session safe food. Okay, so let's begin with the topic. In previous session, we will discuss all about the hazards, temperature, and reproduction of bacteria which are responsible for the food spoilage. Okay, fat term we will discuss. We were discussed. Okay, so let's begin with the topic. Thawing. Okay, so thawing is also, if thawing is not proper, then it will also leads to the problem. So begins with the thawing. How you monitor thawing process for the frozen food. So first of all, you have to check the temperature of the food during the thawing process using a temperature monitoring device. For thawing, as a part of the cooking process, the temperature should be checked as they would be for cooking. Food should be heated to the internal cooking temperature within 2 hours. For refrigerator, thawing, check the temperature at the end of the thawing process. If the refrigeration unit is working properly, the food will never exceed 41 degree Fahrenheit. For microwave thawing, food should be cooked immediately and temperature checked at the end of the cooking process, and which should not exceed 2 hours. Okay. For thawing in running water, check the temperature of the food every 30 minutes. Check food temperatures with a clean, sanitized, and calibrated thermometer. Otherwise, it will lead to the contamination. Check the water temperature with a clean, sanitized, and calibrated thermometer if cold running water is used for thawing. Record the temperature and the time, and the temperature is checked. And take the corrective action if appropriate thawing temperature of the food is not met. If the water temperature is warmer than 70 degrees Celsius from the tap, use another thawing method. Okay. And record corrective action, corrections taken. Okay. Next is the cooling foods. Cooling is a risky step in the food preparation since the temperature of the food will be exposed and pass through the danger zone. Most refrigerators and equipment are not capable of rapidly cooling large volumes of food, and it is very difficult to cool foods fast enough to keep them safe, especially during the summer season. Food should not be left out to cool at room temperatures. Once the temperature of the food falls below 135 degree Fahrenheit, it should be cooled on ice or in the refrigerator. The best approach to cooling is to avoid it whenever possible. Okay. Food commonly cooked in 2 or more steps are much safer if the steps are combined into just one longer cooking steps. Okay. So splitting large containers of food, hot food into multiple small, shallow metal containers, no greater than 4 inches deep, uncovered, and stirring allows for faster cooling in the refrigerator. Place containers in an area in the refrigerator with good air circulation. For large solid foods like meatloaf or turkey, cut the food into the smaller pieces and spread it onto the tray and place it in completely covered into the refrigerator in an area with the for the good air circulation. Okay. For foods, you can stir like soups, gravy, refried beans. Placing the container of a food into an ice bath and with the ice at the product line will greatly speed up the cooling process. Ice vents which are filled with water and then frozen can be placed into the hot food by combining ice vents with an ice bath. It creates an effective cooling process for the soups, gravies, and sauces. If you are preparing a cold salad like potato salad, egg salad from hot ingredients, cool all the ingredients first in the refrigerator prior to the mixing. Whatever the method used, the food must be cooled down from 135 degree Fahrenheit to 70 degree Fahrenheit within 2 hours. Okay. And from 70 degree Fahrenheit down to 41 degree Fahrenheit within another 4 hours, or as soon as possible, but not more than that. 6 hours may seem like a long time to cool foods, but most foods will not cool this quickly unless you assist in the process. Use a calibrated STEM thermometer to make sure the cooling methods you are using are adequate. Okay. So next parameter is reheating food. Food that has been cooked and then cooled may need to be heated again. And when you reheat food, do it quickly within a 1 hour to 165 degree Fahrenheit, regardless of its original cooking temperature. For example, if you cook the meatloaf on Monday to 155 degree Fahrenheit and you cool it down properly, now you want to serve leftovers on Tuesday's buffet line, and you must reheat the material to 165 degree Fahrenheit. The right way to do this is using a stove burners, microwave ovens, convection ovens, or steamers. Stir the food to be sure that all parts of it are hot. Then use your calibrated metal stem thermometer to check the temperature. Do not place cold foods onto the steam table, as the food will not be reheated quickly enough, allowing it to expose to the danger zone for a long time. And food should only be reheated once. Next is the thermometer. Any refrigeration equipment you use must be equipped with a thermometer that measures the internal temperature. Use a metal stem thermometer to check foods you are cooking, holding hot or cold or cooling. It is a good idea to keep logs as a way of making sure that someone will actually be checking on the temperature regularly. Make sure the thermometer's range includes the temperature you are looking for, and you cannot use a cooking thermometer for cold or cooling foods because the range does not down to 41 degrees. Test the accuracy of your thermometer by placing it in a glass of ice water for a couple of minutes, and if it does not give you reading of 32 degree Fahrenheit, it needs to be adjusted or it needs to be calibrated. Okay. So the importance of time. Most but not all harmful bacteria need time to grow to the dangerous level. And this is why holding food at safe temperatures is important. It is also why cooling and reheating should take place as quickly as possible. Okay. So food storage limits. Food should always be used in the order as it was received. All arriving foods should be marked with a date so that you know which inventory to use, and always use the FIFO method, first in, first out. Okay. The product which was first in, you have to process it first, and then you have to suppose that this product should first out for the selling purposes. In addition, any ready to eat potentially hazardous food like time temperature control for safety food must be marked with a discard date at a time of opening or preparation, and these foods should be maintained at 41 degree Fahrenheit or less, and the discard date should be no more than 7 days after opening, cooking, or preparing. Okay. So foods from approved sources. Use food that comes from a sources that are approved by the health authority. Meat, poultry, and dairy products must come from facilities regularly inspected by the USDA, and look for pasteurized on milk. Shellfish such as raw clams, oysters, scallops, mussels must come from approved sources and carry a tag that states where it comes from. The shellfish tags must be saved and kept on file for at least 90 days after the product is sold or consumed. Canned foods, fresh foods, and fresh dairy products must come from companies, brokers, or dairies that have been inspected by a regulatory agency. All packaged food must have a label or seal on the packaging that says the name of the processor or distributor, the name of the food, and the Ingredient. Food left at the table. Once customers have eaten and they leave food like chips, rolls, bread on a plate or at the table, you must throw it away. You cannot serve it again. Unopened packages of crackers, jelly, butter, candy, or sugar may be served again, but those open packages never be supposed to served again to the consumer. Okay. So, what is the cross contamination and food storage? As a food handler, you must prevent cross contamination. Cross contamination happens when bacteria and viruses are spread or transferred from one place to the another, such as when raw or unclean foods get into the foods that are ready to eat food. Here are some important ways that you prevent the cross contamination. First of all, in the refrigerator, don't let raw meat, fish, poultry, or egg drips onto the foods that will not be cooked before serving. Store raw meat and fish and poultry in a separate containers on the lowest shelves of the refrigerator. Raw meat should be stored according to their cooking temperature, and wash your hands immediately after handling the raw meat, fish, poultry, or eggs. And never store food that will not be cooked before serving in the same container as raw meat, fish, and poultry or eggs. Use a hard cutting surface on a board that is smooth and non-absorbent with no splits or holes where bacteria can collect. Wash, rinse, and sanitize the cutting or work surface and all the utensils and knives after cutting raw meat, fish, or poultry. Okay, next is the properly wash your hands after handling raw foods. Next parameter is sanitization. Using a sanitizer improperly can be dangerous. Using too much sanitizers can be toxic to the humans, and having too little will not sanitize or destroy the bacteria or viruses. So make sure you know how to separate, how to prepare and use sanitizers in your establishment. So So you should always use clean wiping cloths to sanitize countertops, tables, cutting boards, and equipment. And bacteria can grow very quickly in damp clothes. And this is why all wiping clothes should be stored in a sanitizing solution that is mixed to proper concentration between uses. Use the appropriate test strips to verify the concentration of the sanitizer. And chlorine sanitizing solutions should be between 50 and 100 parts per million ppm, or quaternary ammonia should be used according to the manufacturer's specifications. Okay. Be sure the sanitizing solution is always at the proper concentration by changing the sanitizing solution as needed, usually every 2 to 3 hours, depending on usage. Do not let it to become dirty, and food debris uses up the sanitizer quickly, and do not mix in other chemicals or soap because it changes the effectiveness of the sanitizers. Then manual dishwashing. Keeping kitchens and equipments clean is important for food safety. Clean kitchens will discourage unwanted pests like cockroaches and mice. Even surfaces that look clean may still have harmful bacteria and viruses on them that you can't see with the naked eye. Okay, and sanitizing removes these bacteria and viruses. For proper procedures for manual dishwashing is, first of all, wash, then rinse. Third step is sanitize, and fourth is air dry or drain board. Okay, so dish, utensils, and equipments that touch food must be washed using the following steps. Number one is pre-scrape. Remove the leftover food and grease from the dishes and throw it away. Number two is washing. In the first sink, thoroughly wash the dishes with detergent and hot water. Third is the rinsing. In the second sink, rinse the dishes in the clean hot water to remove the soap, and mixing detergent with the sanitizer can prevent the disinfectant from killing the bacteria and viruses. And fourth step is the sanitize. In the third sink, the dishes must be sanitized in a warm water, and the sanitizer shall be at the right concentration per manufacturer specification by using the appropriate test strip, and the dishes should remain completely submerged in the solution for at least 30 seconds. Then air dry. Place all dishes and utensils on the drain board or rack and let them air dry. Do not use a towel to dry them because a towel will put bacteria and viruses back on your clean dishes. Next is the toxic chemicals and pest control. Accidental poisonings from careless use of the chemicals in food operations happen frequently. All items such as lotions, medicines, soaps, detergents, sanitizers, and other chemicals must be stored separately from food. Utensils and food work areas, either in a locked storage cabinet or below a sink. If the chemical is not necessary to the functioning of the food business, it should not be kept there at all. Any container used for chemicals must be labeled, and if the chemical is transferred into one another container, such as spray bottle, this container must be labeled too. Okay, toxic substances can enter the body in a several ways. Widespread contamination creates multiple exposure pathways. Okay, so the chemicals, the container must be labeled, and the store away from food, and use as direct on the label, directed on label. Never mix the chemicals, know their MSDS location, and if you don't know how to use the chemical, then don't use that chemical. Okay, so next is the pest control. Pesticide use in the food facilities is very restricted, and no pesticide may be applied except by a licensed pesticide applicator. Any pesticide the licensed applicator users must be specifically approved for food service use, and no pesticides or pesticide equipment can be stored at the food business. Okay, so the best way to control cockroaches, mice, ants, flies, and other pests is to keep the establishment and garbage areas clean. Eliminate the hiding places and routes of entry, and seal all cracks and services. And cockroaches, flies, weevils, ants, mice, and rats are some of the pests that can get into the food business. Don't let them in, and don't let them eat the food. Then types of pest control methods: biological pest control, mechanical pest control, physical pest control, elimination of breeding ground, poison bait, field burning, hunting, trapping, and the use of the pesticides. Okay, so from this session, various questions will be asked, like what are the parameters which are responsible for the safe food? What are the factors affecting the food safety? Why food safety is important? Likewise, questions will be asked from this session in your final exam, so prepare accordingly. I hope this session is clear to all. Thank you so much for watching this session.